Good evening or hello, everybody, wherever you are. Welcome to this week's Zen and Zazen class. Last week I was in Antaiji, so we had a break. And today I want to come back to Kodo Sawaki's To You, this book. But before that, as always, let's sit together for half an hour. Thank you for joining. Today I want to talk about Sawaki's To You again. We are now at the beginning of chapter 4. In this American printed version, it's page 23. The next quote is a little bit longer quote. In a part of Manchuria, so that's from the time, probably the 1930s, when Japan also, how would you say, they try to hop on the imperialistic train. Lots of European countries had colonized Africa, Asian countries. China was divided between European nations until Japan decided we want also part of that, and they colonized that area in the north of Korea, which they called Manchuria. And I think in the 1930s also Sawaki traveled that area, so maybe he's talking here from his own experience. Anyway, he's saying, in a part of Manchuria, the carts are pulled by huge dogs. The driver hangs a piece of meat in front of a dog's nose, and the dog runs like crazy to try to get at it. But of course he can't. He's only thrown his meat after the cart has finally reached its destination. Then, in a single gulp, he swallows it down. It's exactly the same with people and their paychecks. Until the end of the month, they run after the salary hanging in front of their noses. Once the salary is paid, they gulp it down, and they're already off, running after the next payday. So here he's using the example, the metaphor of these dogs in Manchuria, but often you also hear the story of the donkey chasing a carrot that you're hanging in front of the donkey's nose. So since olden times, people have used that metaphor to describe how our psyche works, just the way Sawaki describes it. We want the next paycheck, and then we spend it the following days, following weeks, maybe spend a good amount of it gambling the first night after we got the paycheck, drinking with our friends, and then for the rest of the month we have to see that we make it until the next paycheck. So that's what I usually mean when I say we play a game. We try to collect points in the game, but we never really ask ourselves, but in the end, what is it good for? And Zazen means to, exactly start from there. If I only run after carrots, why not sit here? And that's also the point why Sawaki Roshis and others emphasize that Zazen is good for nothing. Other people might say, well, Zazen is good for something. The Buddha said to gain Satori, 2,500 years people practiced because it's good for something. And if you just sit, it's a waste of time. You need to sit to get Satori. But Sawaki Roshi doesn't use that narrative, because if you sit in the hope to get Satori next year or in 2 or 3 years, it's just like that dog that's chasing a piece of meat. And maybe you get your Satori experience, and just like an LSD trip or something, and for half a day, maybe for a full day, you feel special. But then it's over, and you need your next Satori and your next Satori. You're always chasing the next experience, and you're never really in the moment. Okay, maybe so much from my side. First, Um, how's it today? Do you want to translate Xuan or?
Yeah, I think I'll translate today. I
Okay,
see
good.
some of my students. 我简单的说一下，我们今天开始读第4章，就是泽木老师那本书。他读了一段，我简单的就是翻译一下他读的内容啊。那个时代应该那个地方叫满洲里，就是一部分满洲里呢，它的那个马车是被大狗牵着往前走的，然后这个呃这叫什么开车的那个人叫什么司机啊？司机他会在狗的鼻子前面挂一块肉，然后这个肉，然后这个狗就会很疯狂的去追那个肉，然后往前跑。当然，就是这个狗是不可能追到那个肉的。然后这个司机呢，就会把这块肉，最后就是他到达目的之后，才会把这块肉扔给那条狗哈。然后这条狗呢，会一下子把那个肉咽下去，然后再追求下一次的时候，那个司机把那个肉放在那个狗面前再追的时候，我们其实人也是这样的，我们总是在追逐最后的那个工资或者是最后那个结果，呃，直到这个月的月底呢，我们会追求一直挂在你鼻子前面的那个工资，然后当这个工资结算完之后得到了之后呢，我们一下把这个工资吞咽下去哈，就好像那狗把那个肉吞咽下去一样。然后我们就已经好像完成了一个目标，然后再继续追求下一次再付工资的时候，然后这个老师说，其实老师就是好像应该是泽木老师当时应该是1930年左右哈，那个时候欧洲好像正在侵略亚洲，那个时候。因为泽木老师参加过2战，所以他讲的应该是他自己亲身的一个经历，就是他看到的那个有人把那个肉挂在那个狗的前面在追逐它，就好像我们其实之前听过那个例子，就是我们好像那个在驴的前面挂一个那个萝卜，然后那个驴会一直追着那个萝卜往前走，其实就是这个目的，和这个是一样的，好像我们一直在努力追求着什么，一直在做这个游戏。当我们追到那块萝卜的时候，然后又快追下一个萝卜，就好像我不会问为什么要玩这个游戏，或者说我们最终得到这个目标之后有什么好处，我们不会想，我们只是一味的在追着它往前走。如果你只是想要得到那个萝卜，而你又一直追不上那个萝卜，为什么你不现在就停下来，好好坐在这儿，而享受你现在坐下来这个时间呢？就好像有人说，坐船是为了得到什么好处？如果没有好处的话，那你为什么要花时间坐下来呢？同时，也有一些人说，坐船并不是为了得到什么。那泽木老师其实他是持第二种观点的，就是你坐船其实并不是为了什么，因为即使是你为了什么，为了什么好处，那你当天，比如你今天的坐船，然后你好像得到了，你好像入定，好像有了一个特别好的感觉哈，可能你就是当天有得到了这个目标，但是过了这一天，你又会想要追求下一次，然后又以这个为目标来坐船，然后再享受那一天。等到你得到那个入定的感觉之后，你就想要追求下一次，就好像我们一直在追那个萝卜，萝卜一直在你面前，但是你一直追不上。呃，其实就是泽木老师的这段话，其实是大概是这个意思啊。老师今天要讲的就这些，有问题的同学或者你想要分享的同学可以直接说哈，我能帮你分析啊，帮你翻译。
Thank you. The next quote is a little bit shorter. Nobody can see further than the end of their nose. Everyone believes that their life somehow has meaning, but they are really no different from swallows. The males gather food, the females sit on the eggs. So Sawaki Roshi basically says human life has no more meaning than the life of swallows. If there's a meaning, maybe procreation. But humanity won't exist forever. So, what's the meaning in having children and grandchildren you could ask. And I remember asking myself already at a pretty early age, what meaning is there to my life? Probably because my mother died so early. She was 37, I was 7 when she died. So pretty soon I asked myself, if we die, what's the meaning? And at that time, nobody could answer me. My father couldn't give me an answer. The teachers in school couldn't give me an answer. My friends didn't even understand what I was talking about. Something that I found, well, interesting, that impressed me, what I would read later, was from a psychologist called Viktor Frankl, an Austrian Jew, that during Nazi Germany he was in a concentration camp. Most of his family died in the concentration camp, but he survived. And after the war he wrote a book about his experiences. In English it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And he also started a form of therapy that he calls logotherapy. And at the center of this therapy is finding meaning in your life. And one thing that he says is, when you ask for the meaning in your life, you ask that question and you expect an answer. The direction of the question is 180 degrees wrong. It's not that you ask the question and somebody, maybe life itself, will give you an answer, but actually the question is pointed at you. Life is asking you for the meaning. So you have to give life a meaning by your way of living. It's your attitude in life that can give life a meaning, or maybe you don't give life a meaning. But the difference is a difference in your attitude. And Frankl says, well, there's several or lots of ways of giving life to your meaning to your life. For example, you can create stuff, you can write a book, you can create a piece of art, or you can cook something for your loved ones. Or also experiencing stuff, traveling to a country where you've never been, or eating something delicious, going to a theater. That's also maybe a way of giving life, giving meaning to your life. And then what I found interesting, Frankl says that at the end of your life, even suffering, accepting that suffering that only you can accept, it's your suffering, and taking that burden on you, can also be a way to give meaning to your life. But I personally, so if I'm asked, how would you today answer the question, what is the meaning of life? I personally, today I prefer to say, actually there is no meaning to life. There is no meaning to life. That's why life is beautiful. Because at school there's a meaning to homework. You have to do homework to get good grades. And there's a meaning to those good grades. If you don't get good grades, you can't go to a good university. And there's a meaning to going to a good university. So the meaning is that you get a good job. There's a meaning to having a good job, and that means to earn money. And all these things that have a meaning, they are not enjoyable because you only do them for the carrot that's hanging in front of your nose. And the carrot has another meaning, and you never arrive at the point where life in itself is fun. So for me, today it's a liberation to see there is no meaning. There is no meaning, so I can enjoy this day, today. So maybe it's not even bad that we are like swallows. We only create suffering by telling ourselves, but I want more meaning in my life. I don't want to live like a swallow. But what's wrong with living like a swallow? Okay, maybe so far until here.
老师又读了一段啊，为大家简单翻译下一段。第二段比较短。 就是呃，其实我们每个人都不可能看得比你鼻子的那一端要长，就直译啊，你不能看到你就刚才不是挂那块肉吗？所以下面他接着说，就是其实我们每个人没有人可以看得更远，就是比你鼻子前面的镜头还要更远的地方。每个人都相信他的生命是有意义的，但是真的，其实我们没有什么不同，就是好像那个狗，吞咽那块肉一样，其实我们真的除了吞咽以外没有什么不同。男人去找食物，而女人只是坐在鸡蛋上面孵小鸡，就是这个直译是这个意思啊。然后老师说，那个其实这一段他就讲了那个人生的意义，就好像我们要问自己，那为什么好像问一个人为什么要生小孩，为什么要有孙子，那他到底是什么意义呢？我们就老师在年轻的时候，其实他很小的时候已经想过这个问题了。老师7岁的时候母亲去世了，他母亲去世的时候，其实他就问过他周围的老师，问过他父亲，还有他周围的朋友，其实都不明白。他当时就问我们，当我们有一天会死亡，那为什么还要活着呢？那人生到底是什么意义呢？他其实在他小的时候，母亲去世的时候已经想过这个问题了。当时没有人能帮他解答，包括朋友们，他的朋友们可能都不知道他为什么要这么，都不明白他这个问题是什么意思。就是心理学上面，我刚才老师说那个词儿，其实我没听懂啊，但是我猜一下，它应该是那个战后创伤那个词啊，就是说有一个心理学家，他就是在集中营当中，他是集中营的幸存者，就他们家所有人都死在了集中营里面了，只有他那个活下来了，但是他心里面就受了创伤嘛，然后他当时就想，我们人生到底是什么意义呢？呃，就翻来覆去的想，其实我们大部分人也是这样的，我们的方向错了，不是你去问人生到底人生有什么意义，而是人生在问你，这是应该是人生向你提出一个问题，就是人生在问你，人生我到底是什么意思，人生是什么意思，而不是你去问人生，我们的方向反了，嗯，所以就是当你再去找。所以我们那人生在问你的时候，那人生问你，那人生有什么意义的时候呢？其实有很多方法是可以回答的，比如说你做什么创造，比如你写一本书，做一顿丰盛的晚餐，或者是你创造了一个什么艺术品，比如舞蹈呀、音乐呀，或者是美术啊，这些都是人，就是你人生问你的人生的意义，或者是你体验一些什么，比如说你去旅游，去一个你没有去过的地方呀，或者吃一些你之前没有吃过的美味，或者是看一场演出，其实这都是有意义的事情。那个老师又问，那有一些人哈，就是还有一个就是那刚才那个心理学家哈，就说那人生其实还有一个就是也是人生的意义，就是比较可能我们每个人不敢面对，但这是个事实，就是当我们生命走到最后的时候，其实最后的痛苦也是别人不能够体验的一个你的意义，那也是人生的意义。所以你应该问的是你自己人生的意义到底是什么，而不是你去问人生。那如果说，就好像我们其实回想一下，其实这个意义都是你自己给它定义的。就好像我们在学校的时候，一定要考高分儿，因为学习才有意义，对吧？考高分儿，那考高分儿的意义是什么呢？是我们能够进好学校。那进好学校的意义是我们可以有个好工作，那更好工作的意义是我们可以挣很多钱。所以你回想一下，当你把一个事情让它一定要有意义的时候，其实就失去了乐趣。就这些，就是你失去了你享受做这件事情的乐趣。所以你回想一下，那我们其实有乐趣的事情都是没有意义的，是你没有把自己真正要得到什么的时候，其实你才得到了它的意义。所以你应该问你的今天，问你的现在，你有没有享受今天，享受现在你在创造的这个意义？其实你才是自由的。当你自由的时候呢，你就看到了意义，而不是你去给它定义一个什么，就好像那个萝卜哈，你一直在追那个萝卜，其实你就停下来，坐下来，这就是意义。所以有意义的事情都是你给它下了一个定义，然后创造了一个痛苦。而当你自由的时候，其实你就看到了意义。老师刚才说的就是这些，大概是这个意思。
Thank you. We still have some time, so if you have questions, anything that you would like to share, you're welcome to do so. Any questions? Any comments? Julian and Genjo are raising their hand. There's also a chat comment. Maybe Julian first, after that Genjo.
I wonder if the Frankel's idea about meaning and your take on meaning, Muho, are complementary anyway, because one is about subjective meaning and one is about objective meaning, isn't it? So I can go and construct my subjective meaning. I only have to look on the gallery view here to see Joseph, to see my sparrow chick. That gives me, although obviously there's no objective meaning. So I think they're just two ways of looking at the same issue, aren't they? And that Frankel book is so incredible. If people haven't read it, it's really worth taking on board. So.
Yes, definitely. Genjo-san was raising her hand, please.
Thank you. Maybe it's meaningless to ask you this question now, but you often, you said before, you asked your father after your mother died, what's the meaning of the life if we die? I personally cannot understand that question. And I'd love to ask you, if the life doesn't end, if you don't die, did you think it's meaningful?
No. That would be even more frightening. I mean, it depends, but at the time, that would have been more frightening even, if it wouldn't end.
Yeah.
So actually for a long time, for me it was a source of hope to know, well, either way, in 100 years the whole thing will be over. And well, for a lot of people probably it's different. A lot of people are happy with being alive now, but they're afraid of what's going to be in 100 years. For me, the question was more about what's the meaning of that, what's going to happen until I die? Why do I have to put up with this 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years of life? What's the meaning? What's the meaning with putting up with life in the first place? In my case, it was less kind of being afraid of returning to nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas, please.
I think a lot of people are wasting the time to find the sense of life and the meaning of life. And life is here and now, and you have to enjoy it. Yes. I'm completely with you. There is no sense. The sense is only to live here, now, and when it's gone, when it's the best thing is when you have fun. This was it.
Okay. There's also a comment here: to aim for a life free of carrot chasing seems to be the most worthwhile, but at the same time the most difficult. Living just on my own compass of what's worth it and what's not. But at the same time, we need the reactions of the others as correction and feedback. Probably that's also true for this idea, well, to have fun is what is most important, but it's also probably important not to forget that it shouldn't not only be fun for me, but everybody else should be also able to enjoy the game. So also in that respect, sometimes we need the feedback of others. If only I am the one who is enjoying, often you have that case of the neighbor who turns on the music, maybe hoping that the whole neighborhood enjoys you turning on Def Leppard full volume, whatever, but not everybody enjoys Def Leppard the way you enjoy it, whatever. And the last sentence: serve, love, meditate, realize, serve, love, play, enjoy. That's what is on this t-shirt here. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else that you would like to share or ask? There's Chinese comments.
Wei said, everybody will die. The meaning of life is your experience. 极致 your 极致怎么翻译啊？ your the best you experience. The most excited thing.
I see.
Translate. Can you read the kanji?
Okay. Yeah, well, I can see the Taiken. The last two are Taiken experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also what Frankl means, that even suffering is a way of giving meaning to your life, because only you can experience that suffering, even if it's a kind of a negative experience. If you don't experience that, who can? So even that experience can give meaning to your life. Anything else you would like to ask or share?
Yeah, I want to follow up on what Chiaki was saying and about your experience. Like, so my question relating to me is, like, I kind of thought life seems meaningless. I think more as like a teenager since then. And I felt like, you know, it may be meaningless to have kids and to procreate, and like, what's the point? And then actually today, I saw like a colleague brought their 1.5 month baby. I saw the baby girl, and and then afterwards I remembered when my younger sister was born. And I didn't really think about when, so I would have been 8 years old, and I was so excited about her being born, and I was so happy. And then I realized that my way of thinking, more kind of meaningless, was something that developed later. And so I wanted to ask you, like, did you feel like life was kind of meaningless after your mother died, and maybe before that you didn't feel that way?
Oh, I certainly didn't feel before that. So my mother died when I was 7. I certainly didn't think about meaning. I mean, meaning is a quite difficult concept for small kids to grasp, that things are not only things, but they have a meaning. That's a quite difficult concept, and I needed to have this concept that things have a meaning. And then I asked myself, okay, I know the meaning of homework, I don't know the meaning of this and that, but then what's the meaning of life? But 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds children, they don't have that concept yet. And in a way, not being free of that concept is much closer to enlightenment than when we are grown-ups and we have all these concepts of meaning and whatever, substance, and there's matter and there's mental consciousness and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But when I was excited my younger sister was born, I was 8, so I was probably starting to form a little bit. But I agree with you what you're saying. So then what I'm thinking now is, after then doing a lot of Zen training, so your perspective of life being meaningless shifted to becoming more, finding more meaning. Is that right?
Well, yeah, although I would say it's more the realization I don't need meaning. I don't need meaning. I'm much happier without meaning. Of course, I can also live with that Frankel answer that you are the one who has to give meaning to your life. I'm happy with that answer as well, but I think that Zen practice, well, liberated me from that idea, but life is supposed to have a meaning. Where is it? How can I give meaning to my life? For me, it rather meant a return to there's no meaning, but nothing is missing. Even without meaning, life is beautiful, or maybe even more beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bernal, you're raising your hand. Bernal, can you hear us? You seem to be frozen. Maybe the connection is bad. Bernal, pretty bad connection. Joseph is asking, how did it change when you became a father, Muho, if you don't mind sharing that? Probably it's not so much that it changed after I became a father, but after I felt, maybe at the end of my 20s or so, that actually it's wonderful to be alive, even without a meaning. Then, I don't know why, but at the same time, I wanted to have kids at that time. Before that, the wish to have kids was not so strong, because first I wanted to have meaning in my life. Why have kids if I'm not even happy with my life first? But then once this question somehow was settled, I felt I want to have kids. It would be wonderful to have kids. They might also, just like myself, ask themselves why, and maybe suffer, but also hopefully they will also find their home here in this world. So it was less that I first became a father and then the view changed, but my view changed and then I wanted to be a father. And Bernal is writing that the meaninglessness of life is like a white canvas, or it gives life a white canvas. If it had a meaning, it would be like writing on top of a newspaper. Yeah, that's a good metaphor. So that's another reason why maybe it's quite nice to have no meaning in life. Okay, any more questions? Anything else you would like to ask? Andrea, please. You're still mute, I think. I can't hear you. But you unmuted yourself. Strange. I can't hear you. Can anybody hear Andrea? No. Sorry. I don't know, yeah. Well, the computer says you're not in mute, but still we can't hear you. I don't know why it is. Now, for a second, I could hear somebody. I don't know if it's Andrea. For just a second, I could hear some white noise.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now. Good.
No.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I only wanted to add that that's just the beauty and the breathtaking beauty of having the chance to look at such a small newborn child, that you really see that you don't need any meaning more than all that you can already see. This child contains all the beauty and all the life there is, and you don't need meaning on top. There's already everything there, and that's so wonderful about having the chance of looking on these little children. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else that you would like to share or ask? If not, next week I want to talk again about Fukan Zazengi, Dogen's manual for Zazen. Same time, same address. Thank you, Xuan-san, for hosting us. Thank you for participating. Have a nice week here in Japan. Probably today the rainy period started. It's not going to rain every day, but it's very humid. Hope that you have a little nicer weather in Europe or America. Okay, have a nice week and thank you. See you again.